Good morning, folks. This is going to be number 103 of the Dr. Kent Show. I've been really busy getting stuff done, and I like that. Can't sleep. Slept real good the last 2 nights. Woke up this night. Got too many things going on that are too stimulating and keeping me awake. So I have to resolve issues and activities and get myself centered once again. This awakening that's going on is going to be pretty rapid. I feel like I'm being left behind by it. As a matter of fact, there's so much to learn, so much to do. Throwing off the yoke of the evil ones, ending the slavery, it's a pretty big deal. And people are now becoming aware of the problems. And so when I tell you that we have to restore the original 13th Amendment, I really do mean it. When I tell you that I want to be president, I do. But not of this corporation, not of this phony bullshit that they perpetuated on us, whereby the king is still the king of England, that is. It was the queen until recently. So they perpetrated a bunch of frauds upon us, and we are not independent. And so I want to bring to your attention the American Independence Party. And I'm certain somebody else has used that name already, but I like it because it corresponds with the initials from my other channel, which are AI, which doesn't stand for artificial intelligence, but actual intelligence, Awakening Israel. We have to restore the original Jeffersonian Republic. We have to throw off the errors that some of our founding fathers have made. I think the number one error we have to throw off is the one of Ben Franklin, who apparently got honeypotted at the Hellfire Club and signed the Treaty of Paris, thereby creating the corporation and enslaving us all. Good Lord, why does the king have to keep fighting us when he still owns us? And the king is owned by the Pope. The motto for the Superman show was Truth, Justice, and the American Way. I put the word love, truth, justice, and the American way in there. Why? Because in the Bible, the NIV, when it spoke to me, I kept reading a command, and that commandment was to love, truth, and justice, in that order. You can't go for justice until you know the truth. And at this point, we're living a bunch of frauds and lies. We're participants in it. We're imprisoning ourselves by carrying on with their bullshit here. When our nation was founded, we represented ourselves. We didn't have attorneys in the court of law representing us, throwing us under the bus. We certainly didn't have British agents, which is what we have today. In the War of 1812, we got into it because of the attorneys. Now, I don't know how the attorneys did that to us. I'd love to see somebody research that, write a book on it, but the attorneys got us into the War of 1812. And a knee-jerk reaction to that was to put the attorneys in their places. And what did they do in particular? They wanted to maintain the separation of powers so that those legal assholes couldn't rule over us through their lies and deceptions and all of that stuff. And they've done that to us. And the 13th Amendment stripped any member of the British Association Regency or British Accreditation Regency or British Association Registry, whatever you want to call it. It's always British and it's always Regency under the King. They're acting under the king. They're the agents of the King of England. And so it stripped all Bar Association members of any and all citizenship in these states. Back then, we were considered citizens of our states, not citizens of the federal government. And I always wondered, why is it we're called Americans, but yet we're United States citizens? Why aren't we American citizens? I wanted to be president when I was younger because I was tired of being browbeat, abused, beat up, quite literally, physically harmed. Enough happened to me and my family that family doesn't care to talk about it. Nobody wants to know about what happened. Doesn't matter. It happened to me. It didn't happen to them. They're all happy as long as I'm, keep my mouth shut and don't complain about it. But it was pretty bad. And I think as a result of that, I decided I wanted to become president because I didn't want anybody else ruling over me. And I think also that I decided, well, you got to be an attorney to become president. And that's not actually true. If you're an attorney, you're not allowed to cross over from the judicial branch of the government to the executive branch of the government. And if you look up the original 13th Amendment, they're going to tell you it's titles of nobility. You can't have a title of nobility. Oh, we can't have anybody do that. That's what it's against. No. It was much more functional and pertinent than that. The better title for it is the separation of powers, which we have to have again. We have to have good boundaries, clear thinking, ethics, and morality. And I know people have been saying, you can't legislate morality. Well, I got news for you, folks. This is from my old mentor, Glenn Blade Birch. You are legislating morality. No matter what, whenever you legislate anything, there's morality in it. And they continue to perpetuate these lies to screw everything up. They continue to obscure the truth, to hide things. They do it with the language. They control everything at this point. They control how we think. They control your ability to actually make logical conclusions. How do they do that? By controlling the assumptions. By controlling and setting up the assumptions to the argument, you guide the whole damn argument. We need to return to the Bible. I know you want to argue about that, say, I don't have time for that. Well, you don't want to be a free man then. Quite seriously, I've got the best one in the world right here. Proper name version of the King James Bible. Go to the link below. It'll take you to the page. There's a drop-down box with 5 different formats available at about a little less than half price. Half price on the market. Prices are subject to change, as you know. And those prices, I don't think they've gone up, but maybe once. Maybe not at all. I don't keep track of the prices because there's a price to be paid, and it's got to be paid. You want one of these Bibles? You're going to get the cheapest price by following that link, and every one of those that I get credit for ends in 77 cents. The publisher did that so they could account for sales that are attributable to me. And I don't want you to give me money. I want you to give me the opportunity to work for you. I want you to give me the opportunity to give you more value than you give me. I want to provide you with more value. So let me sell you one of these Bibles. Let me get one of these in your hand. You are going to need this Bible. It is the most accurate one out there. I'm serious. This is the King James Bible. And it will help because by reading this particular modern English version, which is translated much more accurately than the original King James, by the way, and corrects major errors that were perpetuated in the King James Bible that were created by other people in the past, mostly Edomites that hide among us, and mostly Edomites that are doing their best to hide their tracks so we don't know who they are, and so they can continue to commit mischief with the rest of us. Okay. My favorite book in the Bible is the book of John. I've started that book in particular many times. And I think it's because, well, it has to do with my first name, even though the family called me Taylor. But I like the way it starts. And there's a youthfulness to the book of John that doesn't happen with the other apostles. It doesn't happen in the other gospels. And that's because the apostle John was the youngest of them. And John was the one that was beloved. His place at the table was right next to Yahshua. And if he leaned back and put his head back, his head was right on Yahshua's chest, because they sat reclining. Hebrews didn't have chairs. Egyptians had chairs. Hebrews reclined around the table. And they all faced a certain direction, a bit of an angle, and leaned inward, leaned on their left hands, and ate with their right hands. And John was the youngest. He's also writes a bit indirectly about himself, and others have written about him as well. He's responsible for a few books in the Bible, including the book of Revelations, which you and I get to live now. He's the one that was described in the Garden of Gethsemane, who escaped naked. They grabbed his clothes, and he shook loose of his clothing and escaped naked. That's pretty much directly mentioned in the Bible. But the reason I really like it is because it opens up with two critical things that have to do with this existence, with this life. In the beginning was the Logos. In the beginning was the Word. We've got to take it for the two meanings right now. So the first is, in the beginning was vibration, was frequency, was energy. You need to understand that. That's very important. And in the beginning was the law. That is extremely important. Because either you're going to live under the Yahweh or you're going to live under man's law. How's that working for you? You think you like that? I don't like it very much. I don't like these laws. I don't like these people that impose them. I don't like these corporate governments and all this corporate stuff designed to create a profit. Part of the beast system. We aren't supposed to have state governments that are corporations. We aren't supposed to have courts that are corporations. I think the judge gets 30% of the take. They get a retirement system. They make money off everything in that courtroom. So they got a vested interest in keeping things going, in dragging things out, in running the fees up, undue processes. It is a racket. So in the beginning was energy, vibration. And that's what this creation's built upon. You and I actually have souls that are electromagnetic. Real energy. Incredible energy. And in case you're wondering, it's my guess that the second death refers to the destruction of the electromagnetic energy frequency for those souls, that is the second death. The first death, it's the body that goes. You go to sleep, or if you're a lucky one, for a week you get to travel freely out of your body. You get to see the rewards before you go to your resting place until everybody's risen up, until the judgment, until the great white throne judgment. And then at that point, that's when certain ones of us are going to be absolutely taken apart, thrown into the lake of fire. I don't know what that means, but I do understand in the book of Revelations where the pit is. And it's in there. It's encoded pretty good. And it's not where you think it is. It's not under your feet in the earth. At least I don't think so. I could be wrong about that. There might be something down in there that, that Apollyon or Abaddon, the angel that's mentioned in the book of Revelations, has jurisdiction over. But in my book, the way I see it, that angel over the pit is Apollo, the god Apollo, and it's the sun. It's in the sun. And a day of the Lord coincides with an earth age, as best I can tell. And what happens at the end of an earth age? The earth is reborn. The surface gets just about destroyed. A few individuals survive it. They go underground. They have to. This happens approximately 12,000 years, from what I can tell. And I get that from the Apocrypha book, one of the Esdras books, which is a Latinized version of the name of Ezra. I get those from the Apocryphal books in the Bible. Now, there is a problem with this Bible that I have. It doesn't have the Apocryphal books in it. And so it's my job and my goal to get this thing completed, at least to the standard. I would love to see it taken up to the 100 books that, I can't even remember the name of the pastor, but he passed away a little while back, and he stopped talking to me because he found out I had a Jewish friend on Facebook. Pastor Paul Burnham, said that there were 100 books in the Bible. Other people say 150. And if we go to the scriptures themselves, we see that there were more books. And we also see a lot of references to other books mentioned in the Bible. I counted them one time, and I counted up 36 different books that weren't in the Bible that were referenced in the scriptures, which gives credibility to those other referred to books. So we can probably make this thing 150 books long. But right now we have 66 books. It's kind of screwing us up. We need the other 14 books. It'll bring us up to 80. And I do think the book of Jasher should be part of it, but that's not one of the 80. I do think the books of Enoch, and I don't know how many there are, because there are different sources, different translations, as many as 5 books or one complete book. That should be part of the Bible as well. And these other references that have been made, where it says, and the whatever it is, journeys or the accomplishments of this king, aren't they written in the journals of this or in the book of this or the book of that? Those probably should be somewhere handy at the least. So I want to get the Apocrypha. And the publisher tells me we need 3,000 people interested in it, and we can do a print on demand. That won't have the best paper. And he says, we get 5,000 people interested in it, then we can use the good paper. And I want to produce a new Bible, a family Bible, a new format. So I got big plans for that. I know you're probably thinking this should be on the Awaken Israel channel. Well, the fact is, if you want to be a republic, your rights come from God. And you got to know God's proper name to be in line with the first commandment. Yahweh is his name. And you're not going to get that except in this particular Bible. It's got the name of Yahweh restored. Ptolemy II in Alexandria, Egypt, in approximately 275, took the name of Yahweh out of the Bible. We don't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy. We do know he was making the Bible available to the Israelites in dispersion, because by the time he was living, most of the Israelites were Hellenized. Most of them spoke Greek. And so he produced the Greek Bible, the Septuagint. And he changed the name of Yahweh to God throughout it. So he kind of homogenized it, if you will, with the category of God rather than the proper name of God. Proper name of Yahweh God. And that makes a big amount of difference. And not only is the word God mistranslated in most of the Bibles out there today, but the word Lord means different things as well. And not only, so there's several different words for Lord, and sometimes it refers to Baal. Sometimes it refers to the evil gods. So that's an important thing. Sometimes it refers to people in jurisdiction, people in authority. Sometimes it refers to Creator, Father God, Yahweh. So that needs to be discerned. And then on top of that, the words for men and man, those were different words, all interpreted the same way. And there were some phrases that were interpreted the same way as well. You see, the yardstick for truth is in this book. If it doesn't align with this book, there's probably a problem. And this book is written at many levels. Many levels. And if you really want to avoid deception, if you don't want to be deceived, then you need to read this for yourself. Those people who think they can have a professional priest tell them what's said in the Bible are being misled. Don't get me wrong, they've actually got some decent teaching in some of those places. With some of those guys, they bring things to the table that the rest of us have neglected. But the fact is, to a large extent, they're deceiving their people to a large extent. When our nation was founded, we knew who we were. And it was illegal in the colonies to separate Christmas. It was recognized for the evil day it was. And that's in the Apocrypha books in 1 Maccabees. And that was not a good day, not for those women and those children. That's important. You need to know that. And you need to stop celebrating Christmas on December 25th, the day of the enemy, the day of the slaughter of the innocents and their mothers. It's in there, but it's in the Apocryphal books. These are things you need to know. So they should be in the Bible. Especially so that you will understand the beast system and what is taking place and has taken place recently and what's about to happen. It's in there, in the Apocrypha, in 2 Esdras in particular. Esdras is the Latinized form of the name Ezra. There is a book of Ezra in the Bible. It's in the historical section. It's next to the book of Nehemiah. Our founders were all educated in the Bible. It was their primer. And you guys want me to, to pay taxes so you can have your schools. I don't want your schools. You're raising those little brats to kill people. They don't respect old people at all. They want to go after us. They're wicked children. You've got them all entitled and all screwed up. They have no foundations. They have no standing. They have no constitution. They have no character. Their behavior is often flat out evil. And it insults Yahweh to the point where this is Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. And Yahweh is going to do the same thing he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. We excavated Sodom and we found physical proof of an atomic blast. In other words, God used brought hellfire and brimstone on them. And it's in the Bible. It can happen again. I don't say it's going to happen, but it definitely can happen unless we join together and take our nation back, unless we join together and increase the level of our frequency, increase our understanding, and step up and become men and become strong men. We need to get our republic back. We are feared around the planet. We're not respected. We're also looked at as the idiots we are. We're a slave system, and that's how the Asiatics look at us. They look at our system and they recognize it for what it is. It is a slave system. You know, the Civil War was to free the slaves? Oh, hell no. The Civil War actually resulted in enslaving all of us under the 14th Amendment and the 15th Amendment and the 16th Amendment and the 17th Amendment. You getting the idea yet? You don't have a choice. You have to invoke my strategic intervention to restore the Republic, which is really simple, and for the most part it comes from the author Eustace Mullins. That's where I got most of those tips from. We have to reclaim the original 13th Amendment. We get rid of all dual citizens that way. We reestablish citizenship at the state level. Each state has to have a republic form of government. And we do away with all subsequent amendments, and we restore the structure of our government to the original structure our creators gave us, founders gave us, which was pretty good. You know, they didn't have professional politicians. They had people who served the nation. Congress wasn't paid. They were expected to serve their country. And when they didn't have the money to support themselves anymore, they were expected to go home and go back to work. So they didn't have pay. They didn't have benefits. They didn't have retirements. We need to take that away from Congress, don't you think? How do you like that Congress? How's that working for you? And then we didn't have the direct election of senators from the people. Oh, hell no. Senators were a very prestigious group. They were elected from the state's legislators. Each state, each one of those people that became senators in D.C. representing their state, the republic of their state, independent republic, each one of them had actually run for the office in their state's legislature. And the state legislators got together and voted among themselves, and I'm sure they argued, and I'm sure they made some deals and all that. But that's all right. You might say, well, we got to keep it pure. No, you got to actually hand it back to the way it was, because you can't improve upon the original structure. You see, the senators were subject to instant recall. And the senators represented the parties to the Constitution, who no longer have representation, so you have no republic. With the 17th Amendment, that was finally destroyed completely. Abraham Lincoln's War of Northern Aggression screwed us all up. But, you know, those were different times. And there might have been some saving graces about the man, but I don't think so. I don't think he had good morals. I think he was a real screw-up. I think he screwed his marriage up, screwed things up so badly, I think his wife blew his ass away. Framed up that guy, John Wilkes Booth, who jumps down from the balcony on the stage to get away. He wanted to escape because this crazy-ass woman had just blown her husband's brains out and set his ass up to frame him. And he knew it. He broke a leg on the stage. That's where you get the saying, break a leg. That's what people that are acting live stages, live plays say to each other now. Break a leg for good luck. But John Wilkes Booth got away. I could have taken this a couple of ways just now, but I decided to shut myself down a little bit. Folks, we've been living a bunch of lies in this country. We are deceived. We love the deception. We love to be told smooth things. That's what the Bible says. The perfect prophet for these people is one who tells lies, doesn't tell the truth. You don't want to hear the truth. My family certainly didn't want to hear the truth. They didn't want to understand the truth. They had no idea what I was trying to tell them, what I was talking about. They were too busy berating me and putting me down. That didn't work out too good for the family. I'm the last of the Kents. With me, the family name dies on this branch. That's all there is to it. And I'm too old of a man at this point probably to have children. Certainly a bit too old to be chasing down an 18-year-old when I'll be damn near, well, hell, I'll be damn near 90 years old if I had a child today. Good Lord. Then again, Yahweh can have his will with me. Whatever he wants, fine by me. Good Lord. Have to be an awfully young woman, though, to be able to have children. You talk about a winter, summer marriage. Good Lord. I mean, almost the dead of the winter, because I'm close to the end of my life. I don't have half of it in front of me. I need you to understand that you're supposed to live to be 120 years old. That's what's written in the book of Genesis in the Bible. How many of you get anywhere near it? How many of you have seen your family members get over 100, even get to 100? We're being poisoned. We've been poisoned for millennia at this point. The evil ones have been poisoning us and hiding in the backgrounds. They're very good at doing that. They majored in poisons. And they poison us today. They claim it's medical practice. They claim it's professionalism. Certainly isn't very good, is it? The outcomes aren't very good. And every day we lose at least 12,000 Americans die. And I think it's on the order of 30,000 Americans become disabled each day because of modern medicine. I told my physician, you guys are going to have a hard time, having any credibility. He says, yeah, he knows it. Well, they got it coming. I used to always wonder, how the hell is it that when a country goes communist and they do the purge, they go after the physicians first? I wondered, why is it they go after the doctors first? My God, looking at how they're taking this country down today, I understand why they go after the doctors first. Unfortunately, I got a doctorate. I don't wear eyeglasses much anymore except readers. It's kind of funny how that works. My vision's been acting up. Some of you folks out there might want to pray for me. Well, the number one thing is Yahweh's will. That's all there is. I want what I got coming to me and nothing more. Just like an inmate in one of those prisons when I was working. Smart, wise inmates wanted just what they had coming and nothing more because they knew it was going to cost them. And I don't take free things. I don't accept free things. I avoid it like the plague because everything that's been free has cost me too much. And all this advertising and manipulation, you listen to those advertisements. Tell me, do they respect you? Are they respectful? Certainly not respectful of men. I won't buy another Toyota because of the crappy advertisements they have in which men are derided. That jackass Pat in the commercials who makes men look like idiots. They do their best to go after men. They do their best to go after whites in particular, claiming white supremacism is the greatest threat today to the nation. Man, they're doing one hell of a hit job psychologically on us. They've got things going on that I have no idea about. I mean, there's some incredible technology. They can do anything to you with it today. They can turn you into whatever they want to turn you into. It's really wicked. They can destroy God's mark upon you. I don't know what that does to your outcome. Please like my videos, share them, leave a comment. I have 200 subscribers this morning. Cool. All right. Well, what's the next milestone going to be? 300? I want to get my message out there above the noise. We need to reclaim our nation before they kill us all. And as I read the Bible, they kill a third of us off in this round. You understand what I'm saying? 335 million people. What's a third of 335 million people? So 1 out of every 3 people you know is not going to be around in short order. My God, there's going to be a hell of a lot of property available as people can't take it with them. They have to abandon it. The probate courts are going to be racked up for decades trying to process all of these estates. We have been attacked from within. Stop blaming the Chicoms. The enemy is clearly in the gates. They are here. We've been living with them for 200 years, just like Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote about. By the way, that's one book of his that they won't translate into English. Not completely. I think they've only got one chapter translated because they don't want you to know who they are. They don't want you to know who they disguise themselves as. They don't want you to know who they hide behind. They don't want you to know who they are. They want you to worship them. They love playing God. They love being God. And they've done the biggest identity theft on the planet. And they talk you into going after the good guys all the time. I mean, this country backs the dictators almost every time. This country makes sure that communism flourishes wherever we go. And it does. We handed over half the world to the communists at the end of World War II. That didn't happen by accident. The people in our State Department engineered that. They designed that. They executed it. Why do you think they murdered General Patton? He was on to him. He was going to tell the truth about him when he got back here, so they had to put a hit job on him. And it took 2 leaders to kill the man. He was so strong. It took our president, Roosevelt, and it took the head of the Soviet Union at the time. Stalin had to send his man in to finish the job off because Patton was healing up and he was going to come back home. And Patton was going to become president. He was going to tell the nation the truth about the generals above him as well, and how everything was a big lie and a big setup. You know, when Patton captured the Germans, they respected him and they surrendered to him eagerly, and they begged him to work with them, and they wanted to roll. At that time, they wanted to roll on Russia. But let me clarify, they wanted to roll on Bolshevik Russia. They knew where the evil was. And those tank commanders and their crews, they begged Patton to let them go first. Let them take the charge. Let them take the hits. They knew they were willing to sacrifice themselves to free the world up from what they knew was really pretty bad, pretty wicked, pretty evil. And they begged him, please please command us, please lead us. We'll go on the front, we'll take it. Of course, Patton never led from behind. He was always out in front of his boys. He always went out there on the field ahead of his troops. He never backed down on that. As a matter of fact, one time they lost him. He was inside enemy territory so damn deep, they thought they had lost him. Kind of a scary thought. They don't make him like George S. Patton. You listen to the guy's voice, it's kind of high-pitched, kind of squealy, kind of a weird sounding voice. But The troops loved him. He wouldn't let up. He was relentless. He inspired them. And he was out there in front with his boys. He took care of his men as best he could. He wasn't like these other generals that would send their men out and wouldn't go there with them. And they loved him, old blood and guts. Yeah, there's some bad stories about him. Blown out of the water quite a bit. And you got to understand the man had strong emotions. You know, the man had strong emotions, and sure, he did some stuff that wasn't the best choice at the moment, and they made a big deal of all that stuff. But the fact is, he was a noble man. He was honorable. He was faithful to his wife. He was faithful to his nation. He was the best general we had in World War II. And they abused him and misused him. Kind of reminds me of somebody. Look, folks, we got to charge this other group. We got to lead. We got to charge. We have to lead forward on this. It reminds me of Swamp Fox. Marion, I think was his name. Francis Marion. I think it was in North Carolina. Swamp Fox took his hits and went hiding in the swamp. He'd go out, he'd make his hits on an enemy greater than he was, and then go back into the swamp where he could evade them and evade capture. That's what he did. The problem is that we're dealing with an enemy that's really, really, really wickedly smart. They put this plan together for a long time, thousands of years. This is bigger than what you could comprehend. If you wanted to comprehend it, if you prayed to Yahweh, please open my eyes so I can see this thing. I'm sorry. Yahweh's not going to do it. Your mind is not designed to handle that kind of evil or that much evil. And be grateful for that. See what little you can see and go on that. And this thing about judge them by their content of the character, I call bullshit on that. You judge them by their behavior. Because when it comes to the content of the character, you're going to go by their good intentions. They didn't mean that. They didn't intend that. What did they do? Just judge them on their behavior. Don't judge them on what your perception is of what their character is, because you're going to be wrong. Their behavior is always going to reveal them. The fruit of their evil works will tell you who they are. Don't listen to the talk. They'll deceive you. Joshua left 2 commands. Mentioned it twice. A double witness in the Bible. The first was, and I'll use the old English, be not deceived. Okay? Almost all of us are brainwashed today. All of us are, actually. I can say that hands down. There are no exceptions on that. All American people today are brainwashed. You just become aware of it, and you come out of it, and you constantly fight it. It's a constant effort. You can't sit back and relax. You have to constantly be aware and constantly work things out. That's working out your salvation. You got to work on this stuff. It ain't going to happen by you praying and closing your eyes and walking around, with your head in the clouds or your head in a hole in the ground like a damn ostrich. The second thing he told us has a dual meaning, and that was hold your ground. That means hold your constitution. That means hold on to your being so you can survive. Hold on to your integrity. Hold your ground. You got to have ground to stand on first. You get your grounding by reading this. And if you don't know what to read, start with the book of Judges. Everybody knows the story of Samson, but do you know the story of Jael? Jael was a heck of a hero. How about Deborah? Do you know Deborah's story? How How about Barak's story? Barak is in the Bible, folks. He's in the Bible. That name that Barry Soetoro used come out of the Bible to put fear into you. It also told you who he was and what he was about. You do a word study on the word Barak in the Bible, you will find out the nature of that man very quickly. It's not mentioned in the Bible so much that you're going to spend a day or two doing it. That's it at the most. You don't know the Bible? You will get a Strong's Concordance and you look up Barak, B-A-R-A-Q. You look it up and you're going to find that he was Yahweh's man. Yahweh put him in power. Yahweh graced us with him, with Barack and St. Obama, for one purpose. Go read the Bible for yourself. I don't owe you anything. I worked hard for my education. And you're not going to believe me. But you need to go read the Bible and discover Barak mentioned in the Deuteronomical books, in the first 5 books. You're going to find Barak mentioned. And you're going to find Barak mentioned in the prophets falling down from on high. And you're going to read about Barak when Yahshua mentions him falling to the earth like Barak, like lightning. And you're going to read about the general Barak cited again. It's a heck of a name for a general. It's a ballsy name. I don't think I want it, though, because when you realize what it means, nah, I don't want to be called Barak. Believe me. But they follow the Bible when they do this stuff to us. They think that'll screw us up and that'll keep us mesmerized so we'll be paralyzed and just sit on our asses twiddling our thumbs reading our Bibles. No, folks. When you read your Bible, you're accessing the mind of Yahweh, Creator Father. When you read the Bible, you're programming yourself up. You're putting good stuff in so you might get good stuff out instead of the trash that this society puts into your head, into your craw. And Yahshua, the Messiah, who you like to call Jesus Christ, his last name wasn't Christ, and Christ is only mentioned a few times in the Bible, and Christians only mentioned a few times in the Bible, and it was a derogatory term. It wasn't an uplifting term. And you need to understand that Yahshua told us so much and prepared us so well. He told you what had happened, that an enemy had sown tares in the field. An enemy had impregnated Eve. Eve gave birth to a half-breed, a hybrid, a bastard named Cain. Everybody's got a father. Bastard doesn't mean fatherless. It really means a mix, a mongrel. And in this case, you've got a fallen angel together with the daughter of Yahweh, producing this weird idiot who murders his brother. And then goes off and look at his children today. Look at what they're doing. Real DNA descendants. Of course, you've got the people that go over to the dark side based on a spiritual thing because they're getting bought off. They're getting paid off. And you better think about that whenever you come across these people that are taking bribes, getting kickbacks, especially through the Ukraine. Where do you think all that money's going? It's coming back here. It's in Congress's pockets, in the senators' pockets. They're all in cahoots together. They're all wicked and evil there in D.C. There might be a handful or 2 handfuls in the entire legislative branch that might be okay, have redeeming features about them, but every one of them has committed treason, has sinned like crazy, has committed treason against this nation by not telling you the truth. It's even legal for them to lie to you. Barack Obama set all this up. And that nuclear policy that allows us to, it allows whoever wants to hit us full force before we retaliate. Who put that in place? Who put this secret service in place, this higher government service? These guys can't be fired. Peter Strzok. All of those people. Come on, man. You voted for him. You put him in office. Why? Because you're stupid idiots. And also because you hate God. You hate Yahweh, Creator, Father. And you are an enemy of Yahweh, Creator, Father. So as a result, he has used his agent. And the funny thing is that Barack has no idea that he was working for Yahweh. He's going to find out. It's just like what happened eons ago in the Middle East when those kings went in to punish Israel. They were working for Yahweh. Some of them knew it. Your God told me to do this. My Lord. Could you imagine another king coming over saying, your God told me to do this. Not my God, but he told me to do this. Wow. Is that true? Read your Bible. Go buy one of mine. Folks, wake up. Wake up before this nation gets nuked. That's what they want to do. They have a license to do that at this point. They believe they're fulfilling God's will because we've become Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. You want to understand Sodom's character? Go look at their actions. It's all recorded in the book of Jasher. Jashur. You'll see that they did more than just bum each other. They did some really wicked stuff in that town. I don't know how the hell Lot became a judge there and hung out with those people and worked as a judge in Sodom. Man, that's questionable. And then look at what happened to his lineage with his daughters. There's more history, more drama in the Bible, and more evil in it than what I should even mention. Yahweh bless. May he restore this once great republic and give us our republic back. And if you would do me a favor, leave a comment down there and tell me what you think when you think the republic was destroyed and what was the final straw. What year, what date would you give to the absolute destruction of our republic, to the thwarting of the rule of the people, the will of the people? What year, what event marks it for you? For me, it's the 17th Amendment, the direct election of senators. That ended it completely. For you, it could be when the police state was created in 1913. At the same time, the Federal Reserve was created, 1913. At the same time, the ADL was created, 1913. All three of those have been working against this country since their inception. They have destroyed us from within, folks. It's institutionalized. Yahweh bless. That's all I got for you.